We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back with Liberty Nation's editor-in-chief, Lisa K. Donna. Earlier, we discussed how the polling very much favors President Donald Trump in a potential run against Joe Biden. But is that because Trump has some real die-hard supporters that just won't quit? Or is it more to do with the ever-increasing pool of disasters that are currently soaking the current president's trouser legs? Lisa, as someone as devoted to political analysis as you, how do you see Joe Biden's stock right now?
Well, I think both of those have a play in what's going on right now. He's going through a rough patch with these classified documents, but now, of course, Pence has come up with the classified documents. And by the way, if our listeners haven't read your article on...
Et tu Spartacus.
Right, Et tu Spartacus. They really do need to read it because it's a terrific article. But... these classified documents have been dogging him, and, it's getting to be ridiculous. I mean, they're finding them everywhere but his sock drawer. And that's causing problems, not to mention the fact that Ron Klain, his chief of staff, is leaving. Now, normally a chief of staff sticks around for 2 years, 4 years at the most, but he is supposedly to announce his candidacy around the State of the Union. And, if he does that, he's going to have to do that with a new chief of staff, and that seems kind of odd.
Well, the person who's been losing so many staff members is Kamala Harris. And while Biden has managed to retain much of his staff for the first 2 years, it seems that Harris's team destruction was really caused by her own inability to read the scripts that they've put in front of her and to wander off into inane word salads that just really made them look bad, her team look bad, and of course hurts their future career prospects, because who wants on their resume, as a speechwriter for Kamala Harris?
Yeah,
It's the kiss of death. Now, Joe Biden, back to the man himself, after the midterms, he really appeared to be Mr. Untouchable. I mean, he'd fended off the insurgent GOP and blunted what many had anticipated to be the red wave. Though, of course, that didn't materialize. And just a couple of months down the line, he's a persona non grata, right?
Right. Well, what we learned from this last election was that you don't really have to be qualified to be in office any longer in the United States of America. We know this because John Fetterman was elected to the United States Senate from the Keystone State, the great the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, if Fetterman can be elected, and this is a guy who really has some serious health challenges, then I think it's open season for Joe Biden. I think what's happening is we've become so divisive in our politics. What's happening is that people are just voting for somebody with a D or somebody with an R next to their name.
So if Joe Biden happens to be that person, do you think he'll get the full-throated support of his party?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will get the full-throated support, because who else is there? Give me a name, Mark.
Well, I'm actually going to choose the name that your husband, Tim Donner, our senior political analyst, often cites, and I'm going to say that it's Gavin Newsom. I think he will. Sure. Now, Newsom has pointed out that he wouldn't run against Joe Biden, but are all the scandals and the problems and the issues that have faced Joe Biden. Remember, it's not just the recent things with Ron Klain leaving. It's not just the recent documents. It's the Afghanistan withdrawal. It's gas $5 to $7 across the nation. It's inflation running at over 8%. And all these things kind of add up. And to me, it seems that they've tarnished Joe Biden more so than he could ever do himself. The scandals have and issues have tarnished what could have been quite a clean run. If he'd have done nothing and just stayed in his basement, maybe the country would be better off and maybe his electoral prospects would have been better. But I don't think that he's actually going to stick it out for 2024. And I reckon that Gavin Newsom is going to jump into the fray.
Yeah, remember something. We all thought that all these issues, the price of eggs, the price of bacon, the price of gas, the Afghanistan. We thought that was really going to make a difference in the midterms. And the Republicans barely squeaked by with the House and didn't get the Senate. And, whether some people are blaming that on the candidates and Trump or whatever, but for whatever reason, it wasn't a strong showing by the Republicans. So you have to really wonder how much people are voting the economy, which they normally do. There was word that they were voting abortion, but I don't know that that's necessarily true. I just think that it's possible that what's happening is that the Republicans are voting one way. They go to the polls on election day, and Democrats vote another way. They like to vote by mail. And so it's just as simple as that.
And I've got one more question for you about Joe Biden, and I do want to quite dig into this. What do you think that he's going to be presenting as the reason for people to vote for him? And the reason I ask you this is if you consider what he campaigned on back in 2020, and that was specifically President Donald Trump has the blood of all of these COVID victims on his hands. And he said anybody with this many deaths on their hand is not fit to be president. And then, of course, since Joe Biden took office, there have been more deaths than when Donald Trump was in office. And I think the COVID pandemic was really the defining point. I mean, it cut Trump's presidency short by 1 year. And I think without that, Donald Trump would have easily won the next one. So what does Joe Biden do now that he doesn't have COVID to blame on Donald Trump?
Well, he's going to say that, he defeated COVID. He got everyone vaccinated. He's going to say that gas prices are stable now. And
stable at twice the amount they were when he came into office, sure, but stable.
Yeah. Yeah, the White House has been doing quite an effective job of spinning. Plus, they have the, media, the legacy media as well on their side. So I think they'll continue on beating that drum and talk about what they believe to be Joe Biden's successes, which I think are going to be even more difficult to discuss now that the Republicans have the House, because there's going to be a lot of investigating going on.
And that's something that we in the news business can always look forward to. Lisa K. Donner, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be with you.
Coming up later in the show, we talk liberty on the Second Amendment. But after this short break, there's no escape from Californian taxes. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.